Welcome back to the round table. Just kidding. I don't make videos for them, I just edit them. Anyways, DC Superhero Girls is a show I've really come to fall in love with. Teen Titans Go, on the other hand, I had a rockier relationship with at the beginning, but I've come around to it like many have in recent years. I haven't watched many episodes, but the clips I've seen I've thought are pretty funny. I think the show has talented writers. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and I own it on Blu-ray. I also enjoyed the Night Begins to Shine special, though I haven't watched the sequel yet. What's interesting is actually DC Superhero Girls 2019 from Lauren Faust actually premiered in front of Teen Titans Go to the movies, in the form of a feature short titled The Late Batsby. Immediately when I saw this, I was intrigued. I loved the art style, the voices, the art direction, the animation, the colors. I was really enamored by it, and it reminded me a bit of My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, though I haven't watched any of that really, just clips online here and there. By no means a brony at all. I don't think I've ever even watched a full episode. But anyways, Lauren Faust also was the frontrunner of that series, so obviously there's going to be some creative overlap. Since I enjoyed the short, I was obviously curious to see what this DC Superhero Girls was, because I was vaguely familiar with the one that was running around 2016, 2017, and that one just looked like, you know, it was made to sell toys, which I'm not saying this one isn't either, because it obviously has its fair share of merchandise, but when it premiered, I instantly really liked it. I thought the jokes were funny, I liked the characters, and all in all, I think it's just a really fun, comedic take on the DC universe. It's not afraid to make fun of itself, and take jabs at certain characters and tropes.
I got hit by some kind of ray. but I thought only kryptonite could... It was a kryptonite ray then. Jeez. You need to reverse time by flying around the Earth. Repeatedly.
Wait, that'll work?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
How am I doing? You're doing great, buddy. Keep going. I'll let you know when it works.
In a lot of ways, it really is just kind of like a more kid-friendly version of the Harley Quinn cartoon, and that's a really good thing. And I just want to say, if you could do me a favor and give this video a like and a comment, maybe subscribe or share it, that'd be greatly appreciated, because this is a very new type of video for me on this channel. I've done videos with myself in them in the past, but I haven't really done one of those in quite a while. If you're subscribed to my channel already, I know this content probably isn't what you're used to, as I'm actually in it, but I have things to say, and I hope to do more videos like this soon. So if you like this video, subscribe and stay tuned for more. Since I'm a fan of this show, I was obviously excited and intrigued when I saw that they were doing a special crossover with Teen Titans Go called Space House. This was gonna be a 40-minute special. It just premiered. I don't have cable, so I just ended up buying it on Amazon. It was only 99 cents, which seems kind of crazy for a 40-minute episode. It's the same price as literally the 11-minute segments, so I couldn't argue with that deal. An important thing to note about this special, instead of it being a 40-minute special where like the entire narrative takes place over 40 minutes, it's more like 4 episodes put together as one. There's even a title card at each part saying Space House Part 1, Space House Part 2, and so on. Each part really is its own episode with its own story in this overarching narrative. They each have their own conflict, characters they focus on, and set pieces and resolutions, and that can work as exemplified with Adventure Time's Islands and Stakes miniseries and Elements, all of which I thoroughly enjoyed. To give you some background, this isn't even the first time actually that the DC Superhero Girls have crossed over with Teen Titans. As a matter of fact, in the previous season, season 6, they did a Family Feud parody, also not their first time doing that, but with the DC Superhero Girls. And I hadn't seen that before actually watching this episode, and I just watched it before I sat down to record this, and honestly, that one's better. While that one is only one 11-minute segment, it felt like a better combination of the two series, and it really felt like it showed the strengths of both shows. Whereas this one, on the other hand, it definitely is more Teen Titans heavy than DC Superhero Girls, which is to be expected when it is a Teen Titans episode that's the more popular show. I don't believe any writers from DC Superhero Girls actually worked on these episodes. I could be wrong about that. Nevertheless, despite this very much being a Teen Titans Go episode and not DC Superhero Girls, none of the DC Superhero Girls really felt out of character per se. There's a couple parts here and there where they felt a little off, but nothing was really too jarring. I love the opening with the chibi art style, and the DC Superhero Girls look really adorable in this style. I kind of wish we could have saw more of it, but it's whatever. It's a nice start to the special. Parodied the song Baby I'm Yours by Breakbot featuring Ifrane, I think. You know that song. It was huge on TikTok a while ago, a year or two ago. It was fun. So as the song explains, the Teen Titans are mysteriously invited to go on a space vacation in this space house. And with it comes this artificial intelligence a la Alexa or Siri or HAL from 2001. And this one's initials literally spell out Shady, which I just thought was funny. When the girls first arrive, Bumblebee, aka Karen, in her usual worrisome self, is a little cautious about them being in space for the first time. Yeah, is this the first time all the DC superhero girls have been in space? I think it might be. There's 52 episodes in the first season of DC Superhero Girls, and it was spread throughout 2 years. So pardon me if I don't remember every intricate detail. I haven't rewatched all the episodes that much. Sue me. In the midst of Karen's paranoia, she actually gives us some foreshadowing to the conflict that arrives in part 3 of this special by stating,
"Actually, even a small meteorite could ruin it for us."
Now, remember this part, because we'll come back to it when we get to part 3. Karen gets into her room, and it's, needless to say, ominous. There's actual, potentially dangerous gas in there that makes Robin cough, but Robin reassures her, it's fine, there's no problem with it. Throughout all this, Babs and Robin are continuing their dick measuring contest that we left off on in the last crossover, and it's only really prominent in the first part. I don't really remember it reappearing that much in the rest of this special, which is kind of odd, but I can see why they stopped it because it definitely would have gotten old. But it would have been nice if they had some resolution that caused them not to argue so much. Karen gets up for a glass of water in the middle of the night because she's obviously having trouble breathing with all this freaking gas in her room. I mean, what the hell? What kind of vacation is this where there's not enough rooms for all the guests and one of them has to be occupied with a space alien? Yeah, that's right. When Karen gets up for a glass of water, she realizes there's an alien in her room. She finds a trail of goo, and the little pod that was in her room is now open and seemingly empty. Babs uses her detective skills to follow the end of the trail, and Robin just continues trying to one-up her, but Robin's example of detective work, however, is by eating the goo, which turns him into an alien starfish. All the commotion wakes up Kara, aka Supergirl, and she's obviously willing to help in any way she can. Kara, Karen, and Babs come across this mech suit type thing. It's the suit that Ripley wore at the end of Aliens. That's exactly what it is. That's what this is in reference to. This special's weirdly reliant on a lot of movie references and parodies. Here it works fine because it's subtle enough. I mean, the older people watching it will get the reference. Kids will just think, all right, cool, whatever. She defeated the alien. But that alien was also supposed to be a passenger on there. So what the hell, Braniac? Why didn't you give them enough rooms? Why did you invite the DC Superhero Girls and the Teen Titans along with the starfish alien when there wasn't enough room for all of them and the starfish alien room wasn't going to be appropriate to someone like Bumblebee? Part 2 starts with everyone watching TV, and then Jess, aka Green Lantern, uses her powers to help change the channel because none of them feel like grabbing the remote. The Titans are all very impressed with Jess's powers, especially Beast Boy, and he actually goes a little bit insane and eventually devolves into Gollum in this segment.
Beastie wants it. He wants the shiny green power ring. He needs it. Let's him have it.
What has gotten into you, man?
It's yours, it is. And we want it.
Now this is a good example of when they did the parody right, because if I was a kid and had never seen Lord of the Rings, I would still think Beast Boy's horrific transformation is funny. It's not too out of character for him in the show because he is undoubtedly the goofiest character in Teen Titans Go, so him going crazy with power for the ring, the concept alone without the connection to Lord of the Rings is funny. People watching that have seen Lord of the Rings will get the reference and appreciate it, and kids that don't get the reference will think it's funny regardless. Beast Boy fights with Jess over the ring. It results in the ring falling into Zatanna's hat. There's a funny gag about how even Z has never been in her hat. There's a sign that says do not enter. I like that gag. Beast Boy, however, already being consumed by his lust for the ring's power, jumps right in after it, and this results in Raven, Wonder Woman, Z, Jess, and Robin also jumping in Z's hat to chase after them, get the ring back, and the rest of the cast has a funny meta gag about why they're not going in there because of production constraints and money, which I thought was a funny joke. It makes sense. It's expensive to have 11 animated characters on screen at the same time. You can't have that throughout the entire special. Now, I find it a little odd that the interior of Z's hat is animated in the Teen Titans art style, with it being a DC Superhero Girls set piece. It makes me wonder if we're ever going to traverse inside her hat again, possibly in season 2. A minor nitpick is they keep referring to Jess's ring as the power ring, and they never reference the willpower, which I found a little odd. They just keep calling it the Ring of Power, but that's minor. Eventually, Beast Boy does get the ring, but it messes with his powers, turns him into a giant beast, and then Jess comes up with an idea to use Z's magic to teleport her hand outside of the hat so she can reach into the hat and grab the ring. It's a little complicated to explain, but when you're watching the episode, it works. In part 3, the references and parodies are not as subtle. They reference Armageddon by name, which is a little odd for a kids show to be referencing a Michael Bay movie from 1999. While it was funny to me because I've seen Armageddon, I can't really imagine the target demographic laughing at these jokes the same way I was. And honestly, if I had even seen the movie when I was in the target demographic, I probably wouldn't even remember it or have cared about it that much. It's long, and it's very much made for teenagers. It's PG-13 for a reason. But the main conflict of this episode, however, comes back to the foreshadowing I mentioned from part 1. There's a meteor headed straight for the space house that would crash the glass and kill them all, presumably. However, despite this revelation, Karen never comes in to say, "Ha, I told you so. My paranoia wasn't wrong," which felt like something she would have done. Felt like Babs would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you were right." But that never happens. As I mentioned with the Armageddon references, Part 3 largely consists of Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Starfire, and Cyborg attempting to devise a proper way to get rid of this meteor before it kills them all. And that's another thing about this meteor. Starfire has a joke about, "Ooh, meteor, that sounds tasty," thinking it's made of meat, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not, it's a meteor," meaning it's hard rock from space. But then it ends up actually being a meat-eater, which that's just Teen Titans Go for you. During their simulations to get rid of this asteroid, they try eating it, which doesn't work, punching it, which doesn't work. In the simulation for Diana's idea, she ends up getting carried away with Steve Trevor, which is actually very in character, considering how brain dead she becomes whenever she's around Steve in the series. And doesn't it seem a little weird that only 4 of them are concerned with getting rid of this meteor? There's 11 of you in this space house. Raven not caring makes sense, but no tips from Babs, no panic from Bumblebee, no defense from Jess. I'm not sure what Z could have done, but I don't know, another meta gag at least would have been something. And Beast Boy is a janitor for some reason? I don't really get it, but it's funny, so I don't care.
I'm so upset. I got to go listen to some Aerosmith, yo. Ah! Ouch.
The premise of part 4, with all these other superheroes being mysteriously collected into this seemingly utopian neighborhood, reminds me a bit of the Lego Movie 2, but it's probably just a coincidence. Regardless, I love the inclusion of other DC cartoon characters like Young Justice and Batman the Animated Series, and Brave and the Bold Joker. It's kind of surreal to see them next to Teen Titans Go characters, but I appreciate the references. In typical Teen Titans Go fashion, Braniac isn't very threatening at all. In fact, the majority of part 4 revolves around the heroes helping Braniac become an adult. The bit of teaching him how to properly handshake was pretty funny. Kara's facial reactions during her mock date with Braniac are great. Karen and Jess are hardly present at all in the latter half of this special. In parts 3 and 4, if they're there at all, they're just there. They don't really do or say anything of significance, which is disappointing in a crossover. Once they help Braniac start acting like an adult, he decides he's just gonna destroy all the superheroes. And they're all like, "Oh shit, that's bad. We can't let him do that." But he's an adult now, so he can do whatever he wants. But they have to stop him anyway because they're the good guys. So Cyborg takes control of the space house, and we get some visual references to the J.J. Abrams Star Trek that kind of comes out of nowhere, but it's whatever. This is almost over. All the heroes of the multiverse team up to defeat Braniac, and then the special just kind of ends. All the other houses are still stranded in space, and the Titans and the DC superhero girls just fly off to Space Beach. That's it. That's the special. Overall, this special was weird. I feel like the main reason they made it is to promote the current season of Teen Titans Go, which just started, and season 2 of DC Superhero Girls. However, as they've already had a better crossover with these characters before, the special doesn't really go out of its way to give Titans fans a reason to check out DC Superhero Girls if they weren't already interested. As the girls aren't written poorly here, but their characterizations are definitely not as strong as they are in their series. I think the biggest flaw of this special can be summed up by the meta gag in part 2.
It'd be overkill and way too many characters to keep track of.
Then it's settled. Due to production constraints, we'll stay here and watch more Muffin Wars!
They didn't have the budget to have all these characters interacting throughout the special, thus it feels like we're missing the brief character interactions we got in the first crossover that could have been expanded upon.
Ah, do I see a fellow alien in the house? Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Green Lantern. Zatanna.
Hi!
What up, Bumbles?
Please don't call me that. Do you have a remote control laser guided batarang?
That is so cool!
And I think that's also in part due to just how different DC Superhero Girls and Teen Titans Go are as series. Teen Titans Go is obviously way more goofy and way more comedy driven and way more slapsticky. While DC Superhero Girls is also a comedy, it's definitely much more of an action comedy. And while the Teen Titans, they're always interacting in every episode. But DC Superhero Girls, a lot of the episodes just focus on the individual adventures. The plots will revolve around one or two of the heroes, and the other girls try to help them solve their conflict. That's not to say there aren't team-focused episodes of DC Superhero Girls. There definitely are, and I can expect we'll probably get more in this upcoming second season. Another thing that's odd about this special is the runtime. Instead of each segment being 11 minutes, there are only about 10, resulting in the full runtime being 40 minutes instead of 44. Maybe just those extra 4 minutes could have helped, but who's to say really? Now, like I mentioned previously, I hadn't watched the Family Feud crossover before this special. I remember when it came out and then I just kind of forgot about it, but now that I've watched it, I can say that it's a superior crossover. It felt like a better blend of the two properties. We got some funny character interactions, which while they were few and far between, they were still way more prevalent than they were here, which is kind of sad for a 40-minute special versus one 11-minute episode. But what can you do? While this crossover was weird, I wouldn't say it's bad by any means. I mean, I haven't seen the Teen Titans Roar crossover, but I have seen the Powerpuff Girls one, and while I didn't love that one, at least there was only 3 Powerpuff Girls against the 5 Titans, so it was much easier to have them all interact together. When it's 6 plus 5, that's 11 characters at once. That's a lot more difficult to manage, and I can see why it wasn't executed the most perfectly. So, have any of you watched the Space House Teen Titans Go DC Superhero Girls crossover special? Did you like it? Did you not? If you could do me a favor, give this video a like, maybe share it with your friends, maybe leave a comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. See ya!